Hi guys, it's Alex Rundella, and we are live from Bernardsville, New Jersey, in my basement, and we're talking about microcultures. Um, what we're talking about fly fishing as a microculture. A little strange. It might not seem as obvious to you that it is, but it's an important part of my life, and I see myself as a part of that microculture. Not a really big thing in New Jersey. Fly fishing isn't really something that we hear about a lot or see a lot of people doing. So let me give you a brief definition. Um, Fly fishing is a method of fishing where you use artificial flies as bait to catch fish. In this instance, in the Northeast and for most of the U.S., you're generally fly fishing for trout in rivers and streams or lakes and ponds. Um, it's an activity that's grown in popularity in recent years. We don't hear about it in New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey is not the most outdoorsy and I mean fishing oriented state. I guess could say, but it's definitely becoming more popular amongst the millennial generation, and subsequently, it has formed a unique set of language, literature, as well as careers and communities all around the U.S. as well as Eastern Europe, and it's created a group of people that you could classify as a microculture. So, like they say, you can't spell fly fishing without microculture, right? Yeah. All right. So let's move on to let's get started on this values. So we definitely value our time out fishing. That's pretty obvious. Time spent on the water is important to us. Aside from that, there are four key values that I think just describe fly fishing. We value healthy watersheds, which means a healthy watershed means more fish. Healthy could mean all sorts of things. You have a good pH level that's at a healthy level to sustain both fish populations and forage. I mean any number of things, all sorts of biology behind that. We value nature. Um, Pretty self-explanatory. We really care about our environment, care about the wild spaces that are left. Um, we value varied tactics, knowledge of varied tactics. That's important to us. The more you know how to do, the more broad of a fisherman you are, and one could say that's you're a better fisherman because of that, and we value that. We value that. We value that ranking, I guess you could say. Um, we also value, and for me, this is more than anything else, our connection to other anglers, basically our friends. The time I spend on the water with my friends, I value that more than anything else out there. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be, I'm going to value a healthy watershed as well because that's just important for the experience. But being on the water with my friends and I guess my brothers in arms, really important to me. My close friends make the experience really enjoyable, and I know I'm not the only one that says that. There, I'm not alone in that statement. Um, Moving on, characteristics of fly fishing. So generally a male activity. However, there are some fly fisher women as a part of this culture. My mom, great, lovely woman. Yeah, does it all the time. Um, Anglers have really good eyesight for a number of reasons. Some more obvious than others. You want to be able to see the fish. Sometimes the flies are using are really small, so it might help to see them. Um, Watching out for other anglers is definitely a big deal too. You don't want to roll up on some guy. You want to see that someone else is there, so you don't roll up on him and get hooked while he's casting. It wouldn't be fun. Um, Another characteristic is we generally have a pretty good grasp on the weather forecast. If you ask the fly fisherman or just a fisherman in general, what's the weather, they'd probably be able to tell you a pretty accurate forecast for the week, as best as they could find. At least they don't have to be a meteorologist. Not that the weather is ever accurate on the news, but they generally have a pretty good understanding what the weather pattern is going to be for the next week or so. Another really important characteristic is patience. I mean, after all, it is fishing. It does take a while. It's not always catching. So, I mean, that's why they call it fishing. Um, and we all generally dress pretty similarly. I mean, we all wear these trucker hats. I have a different trucker hat on every day. I mean, or relatively every other day. Um, we wear fishing shirts a lot. We're not really afraid to hide our love for fishing, I guess. There's a lot of different brands that we might wear. Sims, just off the top of my head, SIMMS. Um, we wear quite a bit of them. We wear quite a bit of their clothing. I don't know why. We just do. It's a fishing company. It just becomes part of who we are, I guess. I don't really know why we do it. It just happens. We always have our sunglasses. Never get caught dead without our sunglasses. So, and I don't really know why we do this, but my guess would be that we're all just we're trying to identify with our group, our friends. It's our culture. We're trying to assimilate into one big group, I guess you could say, of just fly fishermen, which is pretty successful for me, at least. I've been pretty successful in my pursuit of fitting in with that group. Um, Moving on, our behavior obviously going to be a little bit different than most people's. The skill of casting is definitely something that it's an important behavior in our culture. Actually being able to get your fly or flies in front of a fish is pretty important if you want to catch them. Um, Finding fish, the skill of finding fish, being able to look at a river or a lake and say, I know where the fish are and this is why, is a pretty important skill. It's a hard skill to learn. Um, Understanding the terminology that we use, there's all different pieces of equipment that we use in the systems we fish with, and it can get pretty confusing. So there's, just to name off a few: leader, tippet, there's riffle, run, pool, um, just to name a few right off the top of my head. Um, we also, in terms of behaviors, we also tend to have a pretty good understanding of entomology, which entomology is basically the study of like aquatic insects. So there's more going on in a river than just like a housefly or a mosquito flying around. There's all different types of bugs in the river that hatch at different times of the year, and that's what fish eat in the rivers. So it's important that we understand that, and it becomes part of our behavior because it's a pretty intricate part of fly fishing itself. Um, so moving on, where does it stand across the culture? As a result of fly fishing becoming more popular in the U.S., it's been pushed around the country quite a bit, or around the world quite a bit, and different styles of fishing or fly fishing have emerged. So in Japan, there's a style kit called tenkara, which super long fishing rods, like 14, 15 feet, which is, I don't really want to do that, but to each their own. There's all different styles because of that. There's styles that originated in France, the Czech Republic, Poland, the UK, Ireland. There's all different techniques depending on where you fish, because the fish are different everywhere you go. Part of this different as a part of this different style, these different styles that have developed, competitive fly fishing has become um, a pretty big thing. I'm a pretty big part of it. I'd like to think I'm on the USU fly fishing team. We won 4 gold medals in the past 4 world championships. We're going on 5 this year in Spain. Um, and we've taken individual gold, silver, and bronze 3 years in a row, as well as many other silver individual medals in the years prior to that. Competitive fly fishing is something that people don't quite understand, and it's on a whole nother level than just regular fly fishing. But what it's caused to happen is countries like the Czech Republic, Poland, they were in this before the U.S. was even a part of it. So with the U.S. jumping in to this whole game in the past 15, 20 years, it's definitely pushed the industry up, and fly fishing is starting to grow a lot more. And more and more tactics are starting to develop all across the world because everyone's competing now. It's a big competition at this point. Um, there's regional forums now because of this. So people talk, they learn from each other online, and then they go out and they practice what they learned online so they could get better. So whether that's fishing with people that are better than you and meeting up because of that forum, or just learning different tactics, these regional forums are designed to connect anglers and make them better. and just make just spread the knowledge, I guess you could say, of fly fishing. There's also another organization that's called Trout Unlimited, and that's just based in the U.S. here. Not just the lower 48 though. It's in Alaska as well. Not really sure if it's in Hawaii. Probably not. But Trout Unlimited is a conservation organization that links anglers and conservationists that care about, like I said before, what we value: a healthy watershed, and that's kind of what they strive to protect. And that's emerged as a result of the increased popularity of fly fishing these past 20 years or so. Just a few quick fun facts for you guys. Fly fishing originated in ancient Rome around 200 CE. Fly fishing can be done in fresh and salt water. Fly lines are weighted by grains per foot. Fly fishermen are more likely to get struck by lightning than anyone else, mostly because they're too stubborn to get off the water when there's a lightning storm. However, our rods are a little bit longer than regular fishing rods, so that might account for it. I read something online like about 11% over the 6 years, which 11% is a pretty reasonable amount for a small group, considering that this was like a survey of like 127 people. So about 11% of the people that died over the last 6 years were fly fishermen from lightning strikes. Anyway, rivers can have a temperature below 32 degrees and not freeze, which is something that's really important for fly fishermen to know, because you can fish in the winter. And that's all I really got for you for facts right now. Fly fishermen have a distinct grouping of characteristics that set them apart from the rest of the dominant culture, and we might be a small group, but we're definitely one to be noted, and we definitely like to have a good time. Anyway, see you guys in class.